Hey, how's it going everyone? This is YLAM here. In today's video, I want to talk to you about slow motion for your Osmo action. This is definitely one of the funnest things that you can do with your action cam, and at 8x it does some really great slow motion. Now I will say, in order to capture really good slow motion, you need a lot of light for this action cam. For me, this is an action cam that's really great outdoors when there's a lot of sunlight. If you're going to be doing it indoors, you're definitely going to need a lot of lighting in order to push down the ISO, because the image can get really noisy, and then we upscale it to 4K, you're really going to see that noise in the video. So let's go ahead and get into the settings. So let's go ahead and turn on our action cam, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to capture slow motion. Now for me specifically, I like to save it in custom settings, because what this allows me to do is it allows me to very quickly go into specific settings that I want for slow motion instead of depending on what was saved last, so I always know what type of slow motion that I'm actually capturing. Now let's go ahead and go into the wrench icon. The one thing that I want to show you really quick is there is face orientated exposure, which I turn off because most of my slow motion doesn't involve a person, so I don't have that turned on. But if your slow motion does involve a lot of people, you might want to consider turning that on, as that might help you out. So let's go ahead and go into the settings. I leave mine on auto. I'm perfectly fine with these. At ISO 3200, it's going to be really grainy, but I'd rather be able to capture some slow motion than no slow motion. I'm fine with a high ISO, but there's definitely going to be some post-processing needed to remove some of the graininess if it gets up that high. When we move into the camera icon, I definitely like to set a predefined white balance. For me, for all of my custom settings, I go ahead and set it to 5000, which is like a soft daylight. I go with the cine light, mostly because if I'm going to do slow motion, I like the widest dynamic range that I can get. It might take a little bit of color editing in post in order to get it the way you want, but for me, I don't really mind that. Now for dewarping, it's currently turned off and there's no way to turn it on. I'm assuming that it's going to get put in eventually by DJI via a firmware update. At least that's my hope. But to be able to dewarp it in camera would be super useful. Now the format, the standard is MP4. I went over to MOV because I do use PC and Mac, but that's personal preference right there. Let's go ahead and swipe up. It's going to be at 1080p at 8x. There's really nothing much that you can change in here, but just make sure that it's that. And what I would recommend you do is that once you have all of the settings you want, you go ahead, swipe down, and then you just save it into the custom settings. That way you know what your base is all of the time, and then you can either quickly select it by hitting the lower left icon and selecting your slow motion, or saving it to your quick switch right here, which will save you a bunch of time. So these are the settings that I use for my Osmo action, and it's a lot of fun to be able to record the slow motion. If you have other tips and tricks that you use for slow motion, definitely leave it in the comments below. I would love to hear them and be able to incorporate it into my own workflow. But that's all I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.